Good evening and welcome to this special presentation on DD India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a two-nation visit to Europe. His first stop is Poland. It is after 45 years that an Indian Prime Minister is visiting the Central European nation. His next stop would be Ukraine. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. In the next 90 minutes or so, we'll track the updates coming in from Warsaw. Prime Minister has reached Poland and engaged with experts on the importance of Prime Minister Modi's visit. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Poland. He is in Polish capital Warsaw on what is the first visit to the country by an Indian Prime Minister in some 45 years. Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the airport. Prime Minister Modi is on a two-day visit to Poland. PM will be holding talks with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and President Andrzej Duda to further advance India-Poland partnership. Prime Minister will also meet members of the vibrant Indian community in Poland during a community event later today. This visit holds special significance as India and Poland are commemorating 70 years of diplomatic relations this year. Earlier today, Prime Minister Modi was greeted by members of the Indian diaspora in Poland upon arrival at the hotel in Warsaw. Prime Minister received a rousing welcome and a cultural performance was also presented. Prime Minister interacted with kids who had come to welcome him at the hotel on the historic landmark visit. Indian Prime Minister will have important engagements ahead. And diaspora members and other people who met Prime Minister expressed their excitement and delight with our media persons.
He said that I did a very good work and he also blessed me, and it felt like a dream because I've never seen a Prime Minister. This was my first time and I saw him so close, and it was like so good.
First of all, getting such opportunity to meet him, and our Prime Minister is so expressive and he looks at each and everyone, and I had an opportunity to also shake a hand with him, and when he blessed my daughter, it was the moment to us. Yeah, it's like he's a hero for India everywhere, and we are very happy. Such a glorious moment.
Well, he just first came to us and we just asked how he's feeling. And first of all, he blessed us. He congratulated us that it was really nice performance.
He took photos with us, so it was very amazing experience for us. We are so excited.
उन्होंने ये साइन दिया है, उन्होंने उनकी आंखों में पूरा सच दिख गया है कि वो अपनी माँ को कितना प्यार करते हैं. और ये बहुत सारा कुछ पावन हो गया और उन्होंने मेरी राखी भी ले ली है.
उन्होंने उनका नाम पूछा और आशीर्वाद दिया. बहुत अच्छी बात थी.
She is very blessed for us, and I think so. This is one of the.
Best opportunity.
I would never forget this because this is a speechless moment for all of us.
सौभाग्य हो गया उनको मिलके कि कभी सोचा ना था कष्टी तेरे में भी लहरा जाएगी. एक मन था कि तेरे आसपास घूमो. एक ऐसा एहसास हुआ कि खुद भगवान हमारे सामने आ गए.
So I'm really happy that I get the autograph from him and I see him that much close. So yeah, it's been a wonderful, and I'm really thankful to the BAPS who gave us chance.
It's a proud moment for our community to have met Mr. Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister of India. We are blessed and looking forward to some more meetings like this.
I think Modi ji brings a certain calm and peace with him. He completes the Indian diaspora outside, so the family is complete with him coming and visiting us. We are very proud and we are very happy that he came here.
It's such a historic event to see Honorable Prime Minister to Poland, and just exactly 10 years back, I had the exclusive privilege of meeting him during President Jinping's visit in Ahmedabad. And when I showed him a photo, he blessed me, and it was really heart-touching. Amazing.
They're excited members of the Indian diaspora after meeting Prime Minister. His engagements have just begun in Poland, and we'll be getting you minute-to-minute updates as they come. His next important engagement would be significant from the civilizational ties between India and Poland. We'll get you the details in just a bit. But for now, let me welcome two eminent guests to take forward the conversation, understand Prime Minister's importance of Prime Minister's visit to Poland. Joining me is Professor Gulshan Sachdeva from School of International Studies, JNU. And my second guest for the evening is Ambassador Mohan Kumar, a former senior diplomat. Good evening and welcome to both of you. Professor Sachdeva, if I can come to you first. 70 years of diplomatic relations between India and Poland. What signifies, characterizes this partnership and therefore the importance of Prime Minister Modi's visit?
Well, this visit obviously is very, very important and significant because an Indian Prime Minister is visiting a country after 45 years, as you have mentioned. And we are also celebrating 70 years of our diplomatic ties with that country. And whenever Prime Minister visits any country, it is important. But the context is that country like Poland, which is becoming more and more important within the European Union. It's a big country, close to 40 million population. It's, fifth largest country within EU and sixth largest economy within the European Union. And it's not just only today Poland is important for us. Even during the Soviet period, when now we call it Central Europe, then we used to call it Eastern Europe. And all the Eastern European countries, they were also very close to us. And in fact, if you look at, and the Soviet Union used to be our #1 trading partner. And the second export market within this region was Poland. And of course, we also had very close, all the educational, cultural, and the defense ties with Poland. So there is a long history of goodwill and relationship. And even if you look at, the other education and cultural ties, in the Warsaw University, which I just visited a couple of weeks ago, you have Indology department, close to 100 years ago. It's still there. For the 100 years, they have been, studying Indology. And then if you go to a place like Krakow, at the Jagiellonian University, I think from 1891 they have been studying Sanskrit. There is a Sanskrit chair since then. So those kind of linkages we had. And we also had, very close strategic and political ties even during the Soviet period. And then later on, now all these countries have become member of the European Union. Since we also have now strategic partnership with the European Union, so again we are looking these countries in a very different context, and we are working with them. And Prime Minister, so far, if you look at India's relation with Europe in the last 10-15 years, they have become very close. So right. Prime Minister has actually visited so many countries, and he visited many times many other parts of Europe. But to my knowledge, I think this is the first prime ministerial visit to this part of Europe. which is again very, very important. Now it's becoming strategically much more important because now, after the Ukraine war, Poland has become the strategic center from where all kind of Western, the NATO and other kind of, operations and all kind of support is going from Poland to Ukraine.
Right. Let's also get a perspective from Ambassador Mohan Kumar on that. Ambassador Kumar, Indian Prime Minister's visit to Poland in 45 years. Why now, and why is it significant according to you?
Thank you very much for having me. I think that's a good question. Why now? I think if you ask me, I think it's long overdue. So I would say better late than never. Secondly, I think as Professor Bhushan Sachdeva was hinting in his remarks, I think the center of gravity in European Union is shifting. It used to be said that nothing would happen in the European Union without the Franco-German motor working in harmony. But I think slowly the center of gravity in Europe is shifting from Berlin and Paris to Warsaw and to other countries. Poland, to my mind, will be the hub and the center from which European defense and security policy will be decided henceforth. Bear in mind that Poland has excellent ties with the United States. So transatlantic relations between European Union and United States will be determined more in Warsaw than in Berlin or Paris, let's say 10, 15 years from now. Secondly, Poland is one of the few countries which has spent 4% of its GDP on defense. It is committed both to NATO and to European Union strategy vis-a-vis Ukraine. And Poland took an exceptionally clear position when the entire European Union was divided. It's Poland which took a very clear position when Russia invaded Ukraine. So for a variety of reasons, I cannot imagine that a Prime Minister has not gone to Poland. I'm extremely happy that the Prime Minister chose to go to Poland. As I said, better late than never. So European Union, if we wanted to be a separate pole in a multipolar world, I cannot imagine European Union being a pole without Poland playing its full part. So frankly, truth be told, it's an area we had neglected somewhat in the past, and I'm extremely happy that we are making amends.
Right. Professor Sachdeva, the manner in which Ambassador Kumar mentioned that the axis of influence is also shifting in Europe, the point that you also mentioned, in that sense, is India also diversifying the manner in which it engages with Europe, with European Union?
No, we have anyway diversifying, but I think as Ambassador also mentioned, somehow in this part, in Central and Eastern Europe, and particularly in Central Europe, we had very strong ties with them. Yes. And in the 90s, many of those things, earlier linkages were broken. Even when after, when they became member of the European Union, of course, the relations have been close, we have been working with them, but the kind of focus which was required, perhaps, we need to, now perhaps we are making up, as mentioned. And you can see, we have strategic partnership now with the European Union, with France, with Germany, and also with Greece and Italy and others, but not a single strategic partnership in this part of the world, which is very important. Right. Because it's not just only a big country, but you look at the way decisions are taken within the European Union. Now they have, from Poland, because it's a big country, they have more than 50 MEPs in the European Parliament, and the way, the weight is there within the European institutions. And even the current Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, he was European Council President just before that. Yes. He is a very old, very respected politician within Poland and also in Europe, because he started his career, as a Solidarity member, and then, of course, he has been part of many political groupings, because, in the Poland in the initial years, they had a lot of, disturbance, I would say, not very stable governments for quite some time. And many governments came, many new formations came, but now there is a stability political. And when you also must remember that Poland is also one country, since 1995,
this is one of the fastest growing economy within Europe. Without any, and they are not part of the, still not part of the Eurozone. Still they are doing pretty well. And they do have now influence within the European Union. Yes, in the last 8 years when you had, Law and Justice Party government, then they had certain problems with the European Union. But now with this new government, I think the relations are also very excellent. And, as the point was also, which was hinted by Ambassador Mohan Kumar, after 2014 itself, when the Crimea happened, Poland and the Baltic countries, they were in the forefront of actually raising concerns. And in fact, many countries within Western Europe, they were saying, they are unnecessarily raising fears about Russia. But now when things actually happened, after 2022, then in fact, whatever things they were saying about energy dependence on Russia, yes, about the fear of Russian expansionism, etc., I think more and more now Europeans are listening to what Polish and the other Eastern European countries are saying. At the same time, because Poland was next to Ukraine, millions of refugees first came to Poland, and most of them are still just working there, just like as a Polish citizen.
Many Indian students who were being evacuated were also evacuated.
Poland, but now in fact, when the major chunk, when yes, in fact more than 1 million or so, in fact, refugees came to Poland, and even before that actually they were coming to work in Poland because there was better opportunities to work there for short-term kind of seasonal employment. But now many of them are just there and they are being treated more or less like local citizens. So it means they are playing much more bigger role in the European Union, and I think this is a time we are also, since we also are very close, they do not have any kind of we don't have any problems with Poland. Politically we have been very close, but somehow, and in the process what has also happened, one also must see in the last 10-15 years, in fact China expanded quite significantly in this part of the world. So, I think strategically, politically, historically, it makes more sense now that actually we start working very closely with some of these countries, and Poland is a big country, and also we are working with other countries as well.
Right. Ambassador Kumar, with reference to the Russia-Ukraine conflict that you also mentioned in your intervention, at a time when the shadow of the conflict looms large over the entire region, and if we look at Prime Minister's visit to the region in its entirety, Poland and then Ukraine, what significance does it entail if we see the big picture?
Oh, the significance is huge. In fact, I'm particularly happy that the Indian Prime Minister will have a chance to talk to his Polish interlocutors before he meets President Zelensky. It's very important to get a Polish perspective. Bear in mind that Poland was under Soviet occupation and then domination, if you like, for a long time. They understand Russia, and I dare say you will have difficulty finding a peaceful resolution in Ukraine unless Poland gets on board. So it's extremely important that the Indian Prime Minister gets a sense of where Poland stands on the conflict in Ukraine. And that is very, very important for him, so that when he does share perspective, the Indian Prime Minister has already said that he will want to share perspectives on how to bring peace to Ukraine in his conversation with Zelensky, and that's a very natural thing to do. We've been, after all, plugging for dialogue and diplomacy right from the beginning. So it'll be important for India to get a sense of where Poland stands. In fact, I don't believe even Germany, France, and other countries can fashion a proposal in the European Union without getting Poland on board. Poland will play an extremely important role whenever there is a diplomatic solution in sight in Ukraine. So from that perspective, I see the Indian Prime Minister's visit to Poland extremely important, especially, as you say, since the visit is preceding his own visit to Ukraine, where he will meet with President Zelensky. All in all, I think it is the strategic nature of this visit that interests me. Trade is $6 billion. We have invested $3 billion. All those things will happen. And I think Professor Gulshan Sachdeva is absolutely right. Poland is part of the Belt and Road Initiative of China. China has had a head start. And Poland has been doing a bit of balancing between ties with United States, ties with China, ties with Russia. In that sense as well, Poland will be keen to diversify risk and to develop ties with India. I believe there is an opportunity there. There's a window of opportunity that India must exploit, because I don't think, given the kind of relationship that US and China may have in the future, Poland will not want to become collateral. They would not want to suffer collateral damage. So there will be a Polish inclination, if you like, also look at Indian market, also look at how ties with India can be developed. I think India must make use of this opportunity. So all in all, I think the visit could not have come at a better time. It could have come earlier in my view, but as I said, better late than never.
Ambassador Kumar, also what makes this visit dramatic, if I may use that word, is that just a month ago, Prime Minister was engaging with the leadership of Russia, the other side of the conflict. And India happens to be one of the only few countries, and Prime Minister Modi is one of the few leaders who's able to engage both sides of the adversaries in this conflict. In that sense, how do the expectations rise even further? That could India play a more significant role as some kind of a mediator into the conflict, which seems to be entering a new phase of escalation as we speak?
So 2 points, really. I think one should be clear-headed. This conflict in Ukraine is extremely complex. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of history to it. The first point I would make is that India's conversation, or Indian Prime Minister's conversation with the Polish President and with others, as you rightly said, with Putin before that, is the process of multi-alignment at work. This is foreign policy where we believe we must engage with everybody. It's been described variously, but I prefer to call it multi-alignment rather than non-alignment. And this is multi-alignment at work. On your second point about whether a prospect for India to mediate, my diplomatic sense tells me that neither the timing nor India's own clout and influence is not there at this point. And I would hesitate to call India's actions as constituting mediation. What I do see India doing is having conversations with the parties to the conflict, taking messages from one to the other, bringing its own weight to bear on the conflict by telling them repeatedly that no solution can be found on the battlefield, you must negotiate. So all those things the Indian Prime Minister can do. But I do not want to use the word mediation. I genuinely think we don't have the agency to do it. And as Professor Sachdeva said, the timing is not right because both countries appear to be going at each other. There is an intensification of the conflict both in Donbass and in a place called Kursk. Both countries have not reached the point of exhaustion. It's only when both parties reach the point of military exhaustion can diplomats move in and the possibility of mediation can be talked about. So for these reasons, I see the Prime Minister being a messenger of peace. I do not see him as a mediator.
Right. Professor Gulshan Sachdeva, your thoughts on the manner in which more meaning is added to Prime Minister's visit to both Poland and later Ukraine, given the climate of conflict that is shadowing the entire region?
Well, now obviously, I mean, even if when Prime Minister is visiting Poland, this is a bilateral visit.
Yes.
But still, I think it's very much linked to his visit to Ukraine, because you cannot really go to Ukraine unless you go to Poland and travel by rail to Ukraine. So obviously, these two are linked.
It'll be interesting for also our viewers to know that it's difficult to have a direct flight to Ukraine.
No, you cannot have direct flight because the airspace is basically closed. So all world leaders, in fact, all G7 leaders except I think the Japanese Prime Minister, or the leaders from the European Union when Ursula von der Leyen was there, or the German Chancellor was there, or all the leaders, or the French President, all of them were went by train. And all diplomatic things are happening by train because the airspace is closed. And they have, I think, established very secure, rail track. It takes almost I think, overnight 10, 11 hour journey from Polish border from Poland to, Kyiv. So it means these two things are linked. And as Ambassador was mentioning, here it's a complex issue and the big players are involved here. So you have it's not just only about Poland and Ukraine or Russia, Ukraine. You also have United States. You also have all the European Union, all the member states of the EU. You also have NATO, and there has been since 2014 things have been going on, and from 2022 there is a full-scale war, and there has also been many peace efforts. Now the Chinese have their own plan. We had recently a meeting in Switzerland. So a lot of things are happening. So far we have not come out with any peace plan or something, and because only thing we have basically talked in a sense in abstract that like this is not an era of war and it should be resolved diplomatically, militarily. There cannot be any solution. These things are fine, but it means we are and I don't even see that most of the time, at least from the sources, you can see that we have been asked to be mediating or something in this kind of conflict so far. And in fact, I would say that both, since major players are Americans and Russians, and they have the capacities to talk to each other. I mean, they were talking even during the Cold War. So there are, very complex nature of this particular conflict what we had. And now with the new escalation and, Ukrainian forces going and occupying some Russian territory, so they are perhaps at some point they would be preparing for some kind of negotiation with the position of strength that we have certain territory with them. We do not know because things are evolving and it has been continued to evolve in the months to come, and there is elections which are going to take place in the United States. Thing will change after that. Yes. So it's not that one should really expect too much that India is going to resolve this issue or anyone can resolve, because this is a very, very complex issue where we are. But only thing, since India is an important player, India would like to show to the world that India is also has certain capacity, certain position, certain responsibility, because we are also very close partners with Russia, and also with the United States and also with the European Union, and all of them, they do trust India. Right. So in that sense, maybe if we can bring certain sense, we can understand, or we are also trying to understand both the points of view from both sides. So in that sense, I think the visit, but and we can also contribute something. Say, for example, immediate there is requirement of certain humanitarian assistance, maybe certain reconstruction activities. India has a history of providing those kind of assistance to many countries.
We'll talk about that as we continue our conversation. We're heading for a short break here. Stay tuned to the special presentation on DD India.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we will dive into incredible piece of engineering that's making waves internationally, the BrahMos missile. A missile jointly developed by India and Russia is the fastest cruise missile in the world. Also, we will tell you how Bangladesh's geographical position makes it a strategic player in South Asian regional dynamics. Watch Defense Dynamics tonight at 10 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Poland. In this special presentation, we are talking about the key takeaways. Let's first take a look at the top stories at this hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaches Poland on the first leg of the two-nation tour. Prime Minister Modi gets grand welcome by locals and Indian community in Warsaw upon his arrival in the Polish capital. Indian Prime Minister to hold talks with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and President Andrzej Duda on Thursday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Polish capital Warsaw on what is the first visit to the country by an Indian Prime Minister in 45 years. Prime Minister was accorded a special ceremonial welcome at the airport. Prime Minister Modi is on a two-day visit to Poland. PM Modi will be holding talks with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and President Andrzej Duda to further advance India-Poland partnership. Prime Minister will also meet members of the vibrant Indian community in Poland during a community event later today. The visit holds special significance as India and Poland are commemorating 70 years of diplomatic relations this year. Prime Minister was greeted by members of the Indian diaspora in Poland upon arrival at the hotel in Warsaw. Prime Minister received a rousing welcome and a special dance performance was also presented for him. PM Modi interacted with kids at the hotel on the historic visit. The Indian Prime Minister will have important engagements ahead. And members of Indian diaspora gathered at the hotel where Prime Minister Modi will be staying during his visit to Warsaw, Poland. They were thrilled to meet Prime Minister. They said that they feel proud to have Indian Prime Minister in Poland after several decades.
He said that I did a very good work, and he also blessed me, and it felt like a dream because I've never seen a Prime Minister. This was my first time, and I saw him so close, and it was like so good.
First of all, for getting such opportunity to meet him, and our Prime Minister is so expressive, and he looks at each and everyone, and I had an opportunity to also shake a hand with him, and when he blessed my daughter, it was the moment to us. Yeah, it's like he's a hero for India everywhere, and we are very happy. Such a glorious moment.
Well, he just first came to us and we just asked how he's feeling. And first of all, he blessed us. He congratulated us that it was a really nice performance.
He took photos with us, so it was very amazing experience for us. We are so excited.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Poland. We're talking about the key developments as they come in, and two special guests continue to be with us, Professor Gulshan Sachdeva and Ambassador Mohan Kumar. Professor Sachdeva, if you talk about the civilizational link and the cultural link, you mentioned very interestingly about the Indology schools in Poland, also the interest in Sanskrit that they've had for many decades. How do these also cement the ties between the two countries, India and Poland, as we speak?
Well, India being an old civilization, I think we have links with all parts of the world and many countries in Europe as well. But in that sense, Poland is, there are, historically, you go back to 10, 12 centuries, you will find certain linkages there. But what you will find that, even within the Polish universities, for not only for decades, actually for centuries, they have been studying. As I said, from 1891, they have been studying Sanskrit, and then for 100 years in University of Warsaw, they have been studying Indology department. And even in the present context, there have been a lot of interest in knowing what is happening in contemporary India, both in politics, both in foreign policy, and more interestingly, what is happening in the Indian economy. Because, the Poland is, even during the socialist period, it used to be very, very innovative. You look at, two countries, I would say, in this region, both Hungary and Poland, you have a socialist system, but they were doing all kind of experiments within the socialist system, within the centrally planned economy. And Poland, along with Yugoslavia, was only two countries where they never had collectivization of their agriculture. So the agriculture was always private in Poland, even during the socialist period.
Within the Soviet
period, within that particular socialist period. And then they also had a lot of private sector kind of activities which were just working like a private sector. So a lot of, and all the reforms which happened, particularly in the 70s in Poland and in country like Hungary in the 60s. And then there was also, because even within those limitations, they were trying to build new Poland. They started getting a lot of investment from outside. And later on in the 80s, we had a different kind of, momentum in Poland, when you have the solidarity movement. And what was the solidarity? In fact, Poland actually took a lead in kind of destroying the whole understanding of what the socialist system was.
Right, so more on that, with getting some updates from Poland. Let's take a look at some visuals that have come in from Warsaw, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a very special welcome at the Polish capital. Familiar Gujarati colours there, and the special welcome accorded to Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the Polish capital, Warsaw. Professor Seva, you were making a point on the civilizational link, if you could complete that.
Yeah, when the solidarity movement in the 80s, this was a movement, it was the workers' kind of protest against the workers' states. So that was the kind of myth that, everything which was done, all kind of excesses which was done in all the socialist countries in the name of workers' state. And here they're the workers, those on the streets, those are the ones which were protesting. So, and the Poland was also one country where the first elections took place after 1989, their negotiations. And then the Polish economic program, the Balcerowicz plan from 1990, the Polish shock therapy program, where they started moving away from the central planned economy to the market economy. So that also the plan became a template for every other country in this, in Central Eastern Europe, and even the Russian Gaider plan, how to change central planned economy to market economy. The template was what exactly they started in Poland.
Okay.
And since 95, as I was saying, the Polish economy is one of the fastest growing economy within Europe. So they, since we had, very close ties during that period, and they continue to, in fact, whenever I have interacted with all the Polish scholars for the last many years, what they are, in fact, their complaint has been that, we are looking more towards India, and somehow India is not looking towards Poland. I mean, your Prime Minister has not visited us. I mean, your Prime Minister is visiting every other country in Europe, but you have not visited us. In fact, they want to, and in fact, they also, as Ambassador Mohan Kumar was mentioning earlier, China had a head start.
Right.
So they have very good, because there is also, in fact, Chinese trains coming directly to Poland. They have good trade relationship. They had 16+1. And also they were also part of the Belt and Road Initiative. They had certain projects here, and they also wanted to balance this with Indian investment and Indian engagement in this region, because they were also a bit uncomfortable now in the last few years. So there is a strong connect. They want to learn India. They have been learning about India. They know quite a lot about India, but their learning, in fact, has been more towards the past, in the sense, there's a more emphasis, in fact, I found in most of the Polish universities is on Sanskrit, on Indology, on those kind of issues. But there is a lot of interest now knowing what is happening in contemporary India.
And perhaps this visit of the Prime Minister
would
start a new chapter.
And they would be very happy that Indian Prime Minister is visiting, and they would like to have more and more ties with the Indian economy and also with the Indian foreign policy.
Right. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, we saw the familiar sights of excited diaspora members welcoming Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The people-to-people ties aspect of the visit, how significant do you see it as?
So I think it will receive an impetus after the visit of the Prime Minister. I wanted to let you and the viewers know that in 2015, when I was ambassador in Paris, the Prime Minister of India made a visit to France, and I have no problem sharing that experience with your viewers, and it may be of some interest. There are two things which his office was very keen to know. One, he made it absolutely clear that he will not leave France without an interaction with the Indian community. And he made it abundantly clear that, listen, I need to meet with them and I need to understand what they are doing and whether there are issues. And he said, I would like to do this as quickly as possible after I reach Paris. The second thing which he asked me made me very, very curious. He said, there must be some monument, some place which reveals the Franco-Indian connect. Can you locate it for me? Of course, in Paris and France, it was easy to do that because there is a memorial for Indian soldiers who laid down their lives in World War I and World War II. So it was easy to do that in Paris. It is just outside Paris. But in many other places, his question is, can you please locate a place where it takes us back several centuries? And that is why I was very curious as I was preparing for this program to hear about the good Maharaja from India, who received so many children and women from Poland in World War I, took care of them, and they've got a memorial called the Good Maharaja Memorial. They've got a school, and I understand from the External Affairs Ministry spokesperson that the Prime Minister will be visiting. So when you talk of people-to-people connect, I think the Indian Prime Minister is the right ambassador for this kind of thing. But I think the fact that he's also going to meet with the business community, the business leaders who are present in Poland, I think that will help. At the end of the day, history and culture can only take you this far. I am a strong believer that commerce, economics, and trade will provide the perfect ballast for people-to-people ties. Of course, tourism is a possibility, and Poland is a beautiful country. Maybe you can encourage Bollywood. Bollywood must have already made a few movies. Maybe they can make more movies. But I think at the end of the day, you need to have some ballast to the relationship, and the ballast is provided by trade. But taking off from what Professor Gulshan Sachdeva says about Sanskrit and Indology, and these things are important, but for me, I think Poland has to realize that India is now offering a digital public infrastructure where we are good. We can offer things in public health, vaccines, and so on. So the idea, the stereotype image of India in the eyes of the Polish people must also be changed. And the onus is on India to change it. You cannot expect Poland to discover India sitting in Warsaw. So there must be an attempt on the part of India. I would suggest, therefore, that after the Prime Minister's visit, we must not wait another 20 years for the next Prime Minister to go. But if more ministers and more officials can then make trips both, in both directions, there will be a rediscovery of India on the part of the average Pole. My sense is, I could be wrong, but my sense is the average Pole has an idea of India which is rooted in the past, which is not a bad thing. But I think it is equally important that the average Pole gets to understand where modern India stands on some of these things. I think that's important.
Right. Ambassador Kumar, I want to spend some more time talking about the people-to-people ties. You mentioned about the legacy of Maharajas of Jamnagar and Kolhapur. In fact, we learned that these would be Prime Minister's very first engagements in Warsaw when he visits and pays his respects at these memorials. The manner in which historical goodwill has the capacity to influence present-day diplomacy and even trade. How do you see that? How does it form a more confident bedrock for present-day relations to flourish?
So typically what has happened now is that people-to-people ties are based on tourism and on commerce and on economic clout. Frankly, you cannot expect people-to-people ties to happen if the Indian economy is not growing, if Indians are not prosperous, if Indian investments don't happen. I was pleasantly surprised that there is an investment of $3 billion by Indians in Poland. That's not an insignificant sum. It's not a very big sum, but it's not an insignificant sum. And I think that should also act as a force multiplier for people-to-people ties between the two countries. But at the end of the day, it's also important for a country like India to do what is known as public diplomacy. For example, I'm sticking my neck out and being absolutely frank. The average Pole will not be very thrilled with our position on the conflict in Ukraine, where we have not condemned Russia. That is not their position. But I think we can do a good job of explaining to the Poles as to why we are taking this position, that we are against the violation of territorial integrity and sovereignty. We don't like what has happened. We don't like the war. But we have a relationship with Russia, which of course the Poles will understand, because after all, as Professor Sachdeva said, they used to belong to the ex-Soviet Union. So public diplomacy is important, tourism is important, an explanation of why India is doing what it's doing in foreign policy is important, but most of all, I would say trade and investment. I'm not aware of how many flights you have between Warsaw and Delhi or Mumbai. Professor Sachdeva may know this better, but I think those are the kind of things that they will all have to come together. That's the problem. It's not enough if you have just one or two things clicking. You will have to get a range of these things to come together. I am therefore suggesting to you that hard work is necessary even after the Prime Minister's visit. This is what we tried to do in France and other countries, and of course in France it was much easier to do it. But with a country like Poland, there is a challenge for the Indian embassy in Warsaw, there is a challenge for the Polish embassy here in Delhi, there is a challenge for the External Affairs Ministry, Commerce Ministry. All these things will have to come together. Then you will begin to see significant outcomes in terms of people-to-people ties. Otherwise, if you just pretend that you have a wonderful past, we love you, you love me, why don't we go to each other's country? It will not happen. That's not the way it happens these days. So you have to put in place an ecosystem by which all these things fall into place, and then you have a Prime Minister's visit followed by the Minister of Tourism or Minister of Commerce or whatever, for officials to get together. So in other words, Poland must not fall off the Indian radar after this visit. That's my biggest worry. You have a Prime Minister's visit, and then, the next thing takes over in Indian government and Indian ministries. So you need to have consistent, constant focus and make sure that you take your responsibility. I personally think it is India which should take the initiative to have better ties with Poland, not the other way around.
Okay, and we're showing the visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi receiving a very special, colorful welcome in a very Desi style, Gujarati colors in Polish capital Warsaw. As we continue our engagement, Professor Sachdeva, as Ambassador Kumar mentioned about the manner in which India could take the lead in the manner in which India-Polish relationships are shaped in the days and decades ahead. What are your thoughts on the areas of opportunity and also the headwinds? You mentioned China earlier. It's made a breakthrough into the Polish economy in a more expansive manner. But for India to take it from here?
Well, I think one, as Ambassador Mohan Kumar mentioned, you have to have certain institutional mechanism and ecosystem to follow what you do after the visit, because this visit, as we know, has taken place after 45 years. So how do we make the best out of this visit? So I think as I can see which happened in other countries, if say for example the outcome of this visit, because I'm sure there would be certain important outcome after the visit you will see. So if we have a certain kind of institutional mechanism, like say for example strategic partnership with that country, and that strategic partnership means, you know, every strategic partnership, you also have to have a summit meeting after 1 year or 2 years. Then there'll be certain working groups within that partnership. So it means, you know, the Prime Minister visit can really start some new ecosystem. And, you know, it was very interesting to see, you know, I mean, I was looking at the numbers. They said 25,000 Indians now in Poland. I mean, which is unbelievable because, you know, just few years back, I think there was just few hundred I could think of, or it was not really large number. So what has this, out of this 25,000, I think 5,000 are roughly about students studying different parts, and I think many of them are also studying medicine in different parts of Poland. So it means a lot of students are discovering Poland, Polish universities, so you have 5,000 students there. At the same time, all kind of companies, you know, it's not just only about IT, it's not just only about pharma sector. You also have many other sectors which are actually working, and Poland is also one country where I have also seen the numbers where, you know, this is one country where they have accepted a short-term, you know, employment for outsiders, even even in many unskilled areas.
Okay.
You know, because for the last many years, even before the Ukraine war happened, many of the Ukrainians were coming and working in Poland.
That's a very interesting point. Let's also once again turn to the updates that are coming in from Warsaw, Poland. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo spoke to Indian ambassador in Poland, Nagma Mohammad Malik, who tells us more about the 70th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic and trade relations between Poland and India.
The Indian community in Poland is approximately of the strength of 25,000 or so, of which 5,000 are students. Then we have the other the employees, and they would be about, you know, half and half between white-collar professionals, IT, financial services, managerial service, you know, levels, and they're very well respected for their skills here by the Polish government, employers, people. And then we have the Indian skilled workers like welders and mechanics who are also considered very valuable in the construction, big construction projects here.
When we talk about India and Poland, the bilateral trade, where does it stand? And are we expecting any MOUs to be signed, because this is going to be a long-awaited visit?
The bilateral trade turnover between our two countries is a healthy and growing $6 billion worth, the quantum. The balance of trade is very much in favor of India. It is a diversified trade. There are machinery, machine tools, garments, pharmaceuticals, chemicals that we export to Poland. From Poland, we import also other kinds of machinery, other kinds of chemicals.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Poland and Ukraine will be high on symbolism, even as geopolitical issues, trade and defense aspects are discussed at the highest levels. India and Poland share a long-standing friendly relationship marked by high level of political contacts, vibrant economic engagement. Diplomatic relations were established in 1954, leading to the opening of the Indian Embassy in Warsaw in 1957. The two countries shared common ideological perception based on their opposition to colonialism, imperialism and racism. India and Poland transitioned to hard currency trading arrangements that were sustained by rising levels of trade as both economies grew in size and heft. Poland is a key economic partner to India in Central Europe. Two sides have mutual commitment to democracy and pluralism. A cordial political relationship has emerged in the current century, particularly after Poland joined the EU in 2004 and became India's key economic partner in Central Europe. Professor Zdeva, the fact that Poland is an important member of the EU and India's engagement with the country, what does it entail, this diversified approach to approaching the European continent and the European economy by India, and really strengthening partnership with the individual countries?
Well, I think India has taken a very, I would say, comprehensive approach towards Europe.
So we'll have to take just a moment. I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi is at his first important engagement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the wreath-laying ceremony at Jam Sahib. As we speak, those visuals are coming in from Warsaw, Poland. One of the most important chapters in India-Poland relations dates back to the World War II. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has begun his Poland tour by visiting the Jam Sahib Navanagar Memorial in Warsaw. The statue, the memorial that you see, is built to honor the Indian royal Jam Sahib Digvijay Singh Ji, Ranjit Singh Ji, the ruler of Navanagar, who provided hundreds of Polish children refuge during World War II. Prime Minister is paying his homage at the Jam Sahib of Navanagar Memorial. The memorial, located in Poland, stands as a testament to the legacy of compassion and generosity. In 1942, he established a dedicated Polish children's camp in Jamnagar, Balachari, which has included facilities such as kindergarten, school, a hospital and a library. The Maharaja personally oversaw the camp's operation, ensuring the children were provided with not only basic needs, but also opportunities for artistic and cultural development. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, those very special visuals, something that you alluded to earlier, Prime Minister paying his homage at the good Maharaja's memorial, hugely significant visuals. These are for both the people of Poland and India.
That India reminds the Polish population as well. Unless you take the interest and the initiative to visit such places, which I think the Prime Minister does, this Prime Minister does, then it's also a way of reminding the Polish people that, listen, there was history between our two countries, which is worth preserving, worth remembering. So I think from that perspective, it's extremely important that the Prime Minister also makes it a point to visit these places of interest. Otherwise, if no Indian visits that place, then the Polish people also tend to forget. And so from that perspective, I find it interesting.
Professor Deva, your thoughts, the current generation of Indians and Polish people would be learning something important from this visit.
Well, in fact, this is what, happens when, because we have the kind of ties we have with these countries, now suddenly you discover that we had so many linkages. I mean, like what Prime Minister is visiting, this Jam Sahib's memorial, and then suddenly some stories would appear and people would know that those kind of linkages we had. And similarly, the role India played in 1956 Hungarian Revolution, I mean, how India kind of saved many of the people there by its own intervention. So one by one, historically we have been very active. Those kind of linkages and also, I mean, obviously strengthen our ties together. It's not just only about what is happening currently. We are talking about just current things, what is happening in Ukraine. But there is a long history of many of those things, and I think it's good to remind people, and I think Prime Minister has done an excellent job of bringing this, because now while many people will come to know what exactly the kind of linkages we had with Poland and those princely states in Kolhapur and Jamnagar. There was Polish children and women that was here, and they stayed here for a couple of years. Many of them, they stayed here. Others, they went back to Poland or in other countries. So, another point which I think our ambassador Nagma Malik, she was making, she said about, we have 5,000 students and about 20,000 people, otherwise Indians, and half of them are professional and half of them are actually working skilled and semi-skilled kind of work. And this is the point I was making, because, normally when we are looking at Europe, and even when Europe is looking at India, so when we're talking about mobility and migration from India to Europe, because they do need people from outside, and they are also looking towards India to attract, high-skilled people from India. And we normally consider that, high-skilled people, can only get some certain kind of mobility in European countries, but others perhaps will go to Middle East and other places. But what we are discovering now, that even within Europe, and particularly in Central and Eastern Europe, this is also happening in a country like Romania, that many semi-skilled and unskilled people are finding now jobs in these countries. Because some of them, actually because these countries are part of now European Union, and many of those skilled, unskilled people actually have moved from some of these countries to Western European countries. So, so there is a lot of scope, particularly if you look into agriculture, if you look into the construction sector, if you look into many other sectors. So they are looking for people to work in these sectors. And you know, one wouldn't have imagined that even a country like Poland, which has its own 40 million population, and now perhaps even a lot of Ukrainian coming to work there, still there will be scope for others to work in Poland. And I think these numbers are, as I was saying, these have just grown in the last, you know, very, very recent years.
Absolutely, and Prime Minister's visit could pave the way for more developments of this
because
nature.
you know, then only thing perhaps we need to do is that, you know, these kind of visits, if we know that these are things are already happening.
Yes.
Now you have direct flights between India, between Delhi and Mumbai to Warsaw. It used to be earlier.
Absolutely, and those communication channels is another theme that we'll talk about. We'll continue our conversation, but for now, let me thank Ambassador Mohan Kumar for joining us in this program. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us with your perspective. We'll continue our conversation. Let me also welcome Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, who's joining us now, former senior diplomat. Wonderful to have you with us, Ambassador Sajjanhar. We just saw the visuals of Prime Minister's first initial engagements in Warsaw, and he paying homage to a memorial which is symbol of India-Polish friendship. Your thoughts on it, sir?
That's a very significant aspect of the visit that Prime Minister Modi is having there. You know, I heard the discussion, Shubhendu, that you had with Professor Gulshan Sachdeva and Ambassador Mohan Kumar. And you know, my own thoughts were that we really do not need to wait for a prime ministerial visit for all these aspects to come out. I think this is really the work of the Indian Embassy in Warsaw and the Polish Embassy in India to focus on these aspects. I remember the former Polish ambassador who was in India. He was, used to speak about this in terms of the contribution that the Maharaja of Navanagar had made. About 6,000 of the Polish women and children had come in Kolhapur. They had been given refuge during the Second World War. I don't think these matters should be consigned to the, to the backdrop of history. These have a very significant aspects that we need to focus in the current day time. And at the people-to-people level, the relationship is very important, and both sides, whether it is embassies or other official channels, I think we need to work together and strengthen, because that is how understanding will improve, understanding will between the two countries and the people will increase, and that will result in a much stronger partnership and much stronger relationship between the countries and the people.
And Ambassador Sajjanhar, I also want to talk about the challenge of fostering partnership in a widely divided, polarized world. Prime Minister is also visiting a region which is under the shadow of a conflict, the Russia-Ukraine conflict as we speak. But the unique aspect also of Indian diplomacy, a certain strategic autonomy that we maintain and we defend, that also makes our engagements special.
No, absolutely. I think India today is, Shubhendu, as I think many speakers have said and many analysts have commented upon, that India is possibly one of the very few countries which has access both to Moscow as well as the West, whether it is Washington or Kiev or any of the other countries. So I think it is really a bridge that connects the East and the West. And so, the Prime Minister was in Moscow in July, and now in the middle of August, he is in Kiev. and then next month he is going to also be in Washington DC. So I think India is a country, and under the foreign policy that is pursued by Prime Minister Modi, it straddles across different, different lines, across all fissures. And in that sense, the importance of India increases very significantly. Poland, of course, it's not only bilateral business and investment and the fact that we have a very vibrant, dynamic Indian diaspora, Indian community that is in Poland. Also, at the level of ideas, at the level of thoughts, at the level of both our democracies both share the same ideas of pluralism and freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So I think these also ideas bring us together in a big way, and we need to focus on this our relationship in a comprehensive manner to take it forward so that it can. So I think the visit by the Prime Minister, coming as it does after 45 years of the last visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Poland, and also marking the 70th anniversary of establishment of bilateral relations, I think this is going to be provide a very strong impetus to our bilateral ties and take them forward.
Right. Professor Sachdeva, the point that you were making about the growing connectivity between India and Poland, whether we talk about historical connectivity or in the present day physical connectivity, and the different levels of skilled workers finding space in the Polish economy. If you could complete that point about that makes Poland unique in that manner in Europe.
Not just Poland, in fact, some other countries also in Europe, like, the large, immigration which has taken place now, within a particular Indian community is also in Italy. They are working in the agriculture sector. Similarly, large number of people are also going, significant number of people are going to Romania and other places, which are not really in the countries where you would normally believe that, Indian workers would be trying to find. So now it means those things are happening without even some of the ecosystem already in place. So what we really need to do is, which I think this kind of Prime Ministerial visit can really facilitate, with many more agreements in different areas. So we used to have direct flight from New Delhi to Warsaw in the 90s, and then in between there was disruption. Now for the last few years, we have direct flights from Delhi to Warsaw and also from Mumbai to Warsaw. And then if the people are actually finding certain kind of mobility jobs in skilled areas, yes, but also in semi-skilled and unskilled areas. So we need to have certain kind of mobility and migration agreements with those bilateral agreements, because these are the agreement cannot be done at the European Union level. It has to be done at the bilateral level, because the competency of this is in the member states, which we have done actually with some other countries, with Germany, with France, with Denmark, with some other countries. So that's why, in fact, I was hinting that, once we have this visit and then it culminates into some kind of new relationship, certain kind of institutional mechanism, new working groups, new certain kind of agreements, which will facilitate all the things which are already happening in a much more systematic manner. Because yes, we have a good relationship, politically there is no problem. And also interesting point which Ambassador Sajanhar also, and I think Ambassador Mohan Kumar was also mentioning, it's very clear to Polish leadership that our perceptions about Ukraine conflict or Ukraine war is it differs from the Polish or European perception. Despite that, they still want to work with India, because they feel that working with India would also, they also bring so many things, close, and in fact their interests converge in so many other areas. So it means we are working at some level now, so we have to identify, I think, another point which you asked earlier, the approach we are taking towards Europe is comprehensive in a sense.
So I think we're getting some new updates coming in from Warsaw. These visuals are coming in.
As a was the first high school in Poland established as an independent non-public secondary school. In 2004, it was expanded by one of the first Polish international branches implementing international baccalaureate program. The establishment of the school was preceded by discussion on the educational teaching program by future parents, teachers, and students who wanted a different education than before. In practice, the atmosphere of partnership between teachers, students, and parents, specific to Gdańska, was created. In 1999, it was a very big milestone to our school, where the school undertook a democratic process to select and officially adopt Good Maharaja Jamsaheba Digvida Singh as its patron. And it is our testament to unwavering commitment to supporting others.
Maharaja Jamsaheb Kabulnama. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn the Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland. The people of Jamnagar, and especially my family, share a unique connection with the people of Poland. It has no partner in history. As I write to you, I reflect my deep reverence on the unimaginable trials and enduring hardship they were endured by the Polish brothers and sisters. The strength and the fortitude they showed through the darkest hours of history stand as a beacon of courage and hope for all humanity.
We welcome you very warmly, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Everyone, please welcome our guests. I give a very short introduction to the school. Bednarska First Independent High School was established in 1989. As the name suggests, it was the first high school in Poland established as an independent non-public secondary school. In 2004, it was expanded by one of the first Polish international branches implementing international baccalaureate program. The establishment of the school was preceded by discussion on the educational teaching program by future parents, teachers, and students who wanted a different education than before. In practice, the atmosphere of partnership between teachers, students, and parents, specific to Bednarska, was created. In 1999, it was a very big milestone to our school, where the school undertook a democratic process to select and officially adopt Good Maharaja Jamsaheba Digvida Singh as its patron. And it is our testament to unwavering commitment to supporting others.
Maharaja Jamsaheb Kabulnama. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn the Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland. The people of Jamnagar, and especially my family, share a unique connection with the people of Poland. It has no partner in history. As I write to you, I reflect my deep reverence on the unimaginable trials and enduring hardship they were endured by the Polish brothers and sisters. The strength and the fortitude they showed through the darkest hours of history stand as a beacon of courage and hope for all humanity.
We welcome you very warmly, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Everyone, please welcome our guests. I give a very short introduction to the school. Bednarska First Independent High School was established in 1989. As the name suggests, it was the first high school in Poland established as an independent non-public secondary school. In 2004, it was expanded by one of the first Polish international branches implementing international baccalaureate program. The establishment of the school was preceded by discussion on the educational teaching program by future parents, teachers, and students who wanted a different education than before. In practice, the atmosphere of partnership between teachers, students, and parents, specific to Bednarska, was created. In 1999, it was a very big milestone to our school, where the school undertook a democratic process to select and officially adopt good Maharaja Jam Saheba Digvijay Singh as its patron. And it is our testament to unwavering commitment to supporting others.
Maharaja Jam Saheb of Nabanagar. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland. The people of Jamnagar, and especially my family, share a unique connection with the people of Poland. It has no partner in history. As I write to you, I reflect my deep reverence on the unimaginable trials and enduring hardship they were endured by the Polish brothers and sisters. The strength and the fortitude they showed through the darkest hours of history stand as a beacon of courage.
That could be imagined. I wished in some way to contribute to the improvement of their fate. Thus, I offered them our hospitality in territories far removed from the turmoil of war. Maybe there, in the beautiful hills beside the seashore, the children will be able to recover their health and to forget the ordeal they went through, gather strength to work as citizens of a free country.
Maharaja Jam Saheb of Nabanagar. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland.
Deeply moved and affected by the suffering of the Polish nation, in particular, the fate of those whose childhood and youth was being snatched away from them in the tragic conditions of the worst of wars that could be imagined, I wished in some way to contribute to the improvement of their fate. Thus, I offered them our hospitality in territories far removed from the turmoil of war. Maybe there, in the beautiful hills beside the seashore, the children will be able to recover their health and to forget the ordeal they went through, gather strength to work as citizens of a free country.
Maharaja Jam Saheb of Nabanagar. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland.
moved and affected by the suffering of the Polish nation, in particular, the fate of those whose childhood and youth was being snatched away from them in the tragic conditions of the worst of wars that could be imagined. I wished in some way to contribute to the improvement of their fate. Thus, I offered them our hospitality in territories far removed from the turmoil of war. Maybe there, in the beautiful hills beside the seashore, the children will be able to recover their health and to forget the ordeal they went through, gather strength to work as citizens of a free country.
Maharaja Jam Saheb of Nabanagar. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland.
Deeply moved and affected by the suffering of the Polish nation, in particular, the fate of those whose childhood and youth was being snatched away from them in the tragic conditions of the worst of wars that could be imagined, I wished in some way to contribute to the improvement of their fate. Thus, I offered them our hospitality in territories far removed from the turmoil of war. Maybe there, in the beautiful hills beside the seashore, the children will be able to recover their health and to forget the ordeal they went through, gather strength to work as citizens of a free country.
Maharaja Jam Saheb of Nabanagar. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland.
Deeply moved and affected by the suffering of the Polish nation, in particular, the fate of those whose childhood and youth was being snatched away from them in the tragic conditions of the worst of wars that could be imagined, I wished in some way to contribute to the improvement of their fate. Thus, I offered them our hospitality in territories far removed from the turmoil of war. Maybe there, in the beautiful hills beside the seashore, the children will be able to recover their health and to forget the ordeal they went through, gather strength to work as citizens of a free country.
Maharaja Jam Saheb of Nabanagar. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland.
deeply moved and affected by the suffering of the Polish nation, in particular, the fate of those whose childhood and youth was being snatched away from them in the tragic conditions of the worst of wars that could be imagined. I wished in some way to contribute to the improvement of their fate. Thus, I offered them our hospitality in territories far removed from the turmoil of war. Maybe there, in the beautiful hills beside the seashore, the children will be able to recover their health and to forget the ordeal they went through, gather strength to work as citizens of a free country.
Maharaja Jam Saheb of Nabanagar. To my Polish brothers and sisters, much treasured Polish relatives, I'm truly overjoyed to learn that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is visiting Poland and also interacting with my extended family in Poland.
Those very special moments in Warsaw. Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Jam Saheb Memorial, important historical places which celebrate the linkages between India and Poland. For now, we'll be concluding this presentation. Our special coverage of Prime Minister's visit to Poland will continue. Let me thank Professor Gulshan Sachdeva for joining us through the program today. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Let me also thank Ambassador Ashok Sajjanha for being there and sharing his perspective. That's all for this edition of the special presentation on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Poland. Namaskar.